Very welcome. My name is Fergus Dolan. I work for NALA, the National Adult Literacy Agency. I'm delighted that you've tuned in to this webinar today. It's Michelle Benson she's an ESOL trainer and tutor from Limerick and Clare ETP. And Michelle is going to present to us today on Get Them Talking in the ESOL Classroom. And for anyone who's just logged on the last minute or two, I've explained that everyone will be muted, and after I introduce myself, I'll mute myself and cut off my camera. So the only voice you'll hear is Michelle's. And at the end, for the questions, I'd ask you to click on the box on your control panel called questions and write in your questions there. And we leave everyone muted for the questions and answers, but I will unmute myself and I'll read out all your questions, and Michelle will take any questions that she can. So just if you can't see where the questions control panel is, if you click on the little orange box with the white arrow in it at the top right hand corner of your screen, it should open up your control panel. And if you scroll down to near the bottom of your control panel, you should see the questions option, so you can write your questions in there. But I'll mute myself now and I'll hand you over to Michelle.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome all to the Get Them Talking NALA webinar to get your ESOL students talking. As Fergus said, your mic is muted and you can type in questions in the chat at the end if you like. So just a little bit about myself. My name is Michelle Benson. My background is I did a BA in English and Psychology, HDIP in Education and a Master's in TESOL from UL. I'm an ESOL and a Leaving Cert English teacher, as well as a teacher trainer with Limerick and Clare Education and Training Board. I've been teaching ESOL for 23 years, including Africa, the Middle East and Ireland. I'm really passionate about ESOL and I want to share what works well in terms of getting students communicating more in the classroom. And if you ever want to email me, it's michelle.benson@lcetb.ie. So what we're going to look at today, we're going to look at some icebreakers, grammar games using the PPP method, and warmers and fillers. So the objectives of today's webinar is to learn interactive methodologies for teaching English, to equip you with tips and tricks to get your students talking, and of course, most importantly, to have fun in the classroom. So we'll start off with a few icebreakers. Why do icebreakers? Well, you may have experienced walking into a new group and nobody is talking. Icebreakers relax your ESOL students, or any students for that matter, and get them to know each other quickly. Your class is going to be together until the end of the course, so it's vital that they bond right from the start, and this will greatly improve group dynamics. So the first icebreaker is called the ball name game. So the objectives of this game, it creates a fun, relaxed environment in the class. Students will learn each other's names, countries and hobbies in a fun, interactive way. And this game can be modified to practice vocabulary or tenses. So what you need a ball or a soft toy, and you can ask your students to stand in a circle. So you start off, the teacher says, "Hi, my name is Jill. What is your name?" And throw the ball to a next student, and the student says, "Hello, my name is Mohammed. What's your name?" And I usually keep this game going for 3 rounds so that everyone knows each other's name by the end of the game. And if you had a really big class, you could create 2 circles. Using the same ball game, you can find out countries. Teacher starts, "I'm from Ireland. Where are you from?" Throw it to a new student, "I'm from Somalia. Where are you from?" And of course, you could write these on the board as well, so they have something to work with. Another way you could find out about the students' hobbies, teacher says, "I like sport. What do you like?" Next student, "I like cooking. What do you like?" So by the end of this game, students will feel more relaxed. The second icebreaker is really, really fun. It's using the total physical response called TPR. This is a language teaching methodology built around the coordination of speech and action. It attempts to teach language through physical motor activities. and it helps students to understand and remember vocabulary. Comprehension is confirmed by the student's ability to say and act out the words. It can be used from the very first day and works well with beginners, non-literate and semi-literate students. So the advantages of this: it's fun, it's interactive, it reduces stress, it's good for kinesthetic learners who like to be active, and it can be used in large or small classes. So this game is called Touch the Floor. So I think it's really important that a teacher shows their fun side right from the start. And this icebreaker is sure to get students to relax and have fun. So how to set it up: teacher and students stand in a circle. Teacher touches the floor using 6 body parts. Teacher names out the 6 body parts. For example, I am using 2 feet, 2 thumbs, and 2 fingers. Teacher tells each student to touch the floor using any 6 body parts. Teacher asks the student to name the body part they used, and you can repeat these steps with any 10 or 14 body parts. Really fun and interactive. And of course, before doing this, you could have written the body parts or revised them on the board. Okay, you can also use total physical response to teach and practice tenses. So for example, the present continuous. Teacher says, I am eating, and does the mime, I am eating. And all the students stand up and mime, I am eating. I am running. Teacher stands at the top of the class. I am running. I am running. All the students stand up and do the action. So you're matching the words and the action. I am cooking. Okay, so they were a few fun icebreakers to relax students. Now, the next thing I'm going to look at is the PP method for teaching grammar. So the PP method is one of the most popular communication methods for teaching languages. It stands for presentation, practice, and production. Each letter means a different stage of the learning process. In the presentation, the teacher gives an explanation of the target grammar language you're teaching that day. In the practice, the students use this target language in pairs. And in the production, the students are given the opportunity to use the target language in groups. So the presentation is where the teacher is teaching today's topic. The practice is where you put them into pairs and they practice what they were just taught. And in the production, you put them into groups and they practice again what they were taught. So here today, we're going to look at a full lesson plan using the PPP method. So I'm going to go step by step. So starting off, stage 1, the presentation. Let's imagine that today's target language or topic of the class is teaching the students I can or I can't to talk about their skills and abilities. So during the first stage of the lesson, the presentation, the teacher's role is to talk about 75% of the time because you're actually presenting the rules. The teacher here focuses on accuracy when correcting students at this stage. The teacher also asks concept check questions to see if the students have understood. So here in the presentation part of the lesson, you're teaching them the concept of I can and I can't. You're teaching them the rules. And the student's role in the presentation, the first P, is to listen and repeat individually and chorally. So let's take a lesson. I'm trying to teach them can and can't talk about skills. So we start off, we can use pictures, we can also use total physical response. So we show them this picture. He can run. Teachers read the picture and students repeat chorally and individually. And you can mime it as well. Next picture, he can eat turkey. Teacher reads this out loud and the students repeat chorally and individually. Of course, you repeat this with I, you, we, he, she, and it, and so on. So once they've gotten through the positive, you don't just do this in 10 seconds, you give them lots of practice, you go on to the negative, can't. Picture, he can't run. Get them to repeat it back to you. Picture of the baby, he can't eat turkey. Get them to repeat it back. And then you can practice, I can't speak Russian. She can't drive a car. You know, get sentences about each other going as well, connected to their real life. So that's the positive, the negative. And then the question. We show the picture. Can he run? Answer, yes, he can. Can he eat turkey? Yes, he can. Of course, you can have all this written up on the board as well. And then, of course, there are negative answers to questions. Can he run? No, he can't. Can he eat turkey? No, he can't. So that stage of the lesson could go on for quite some time, trying to get across the idea of positive, negative, and question. So once the teacher feels that they've grasped the concept of positive, negative, and question of can and can't, we move on to stage 2, the practice part, the PPP. Here we have the second P, pair work. So here, the stage 2, practice pair work, the teacher's role is to use activities to practice the new language orally and in written format. So the teacher monitors and corrects mistakes, focuses on accuracy. Here, the student's role is to practice the new language in pairs in a controlled way. Here, students should speak up to 80% of the time and teachers only 20% of the time. So more of the power now is being given to the students at this stage. So pair work activities to get them talking. The teacher has now finished presenting can, can't, and can you. And the students are now ready to practice this new language in pairs. One real life situation where we talk about our skills is a job interview. So students get placed in 2 circles, as you can see here in the picture. The inner circle has students facing outwards, and the outer circle has students facing inwards. The students in both circles are facing each other. Think speed dating. Students in the outer circle are student A. They are the interviewers. Inner circle are B. They are the interviewees. The teacher gives the topic for the first interview, for example, a chef. Why I have written the next point in red is this is vital for your activity to work. Teacher demonstrates with 2 students first so that others will understand what to do. Don't just give them a load of instructions. Get 2 students to demonstrate in front of the full group and then others will follow suit. Teacher tells A to ask B 3 questions about being a chef. Can you cook lamb? Can you prepare a menu? Can you cook fish? And B answers, yes, I can, no, I can't. So the teacher goes around and monitors and corrects if necessary. Teacher asks all the inner circle B to move 1 person to the left. This is why I was talking about speed dating. Teacher sets a new topic, interview for a waitress, and repeat as above. Teachers can then reverse the roles so that A are the interviewees and B are the interviewers. Very fun and interactive. Another practice activity, if you want to get them practicing writing plus speaking, is the information gap activity. An information gap is an activity where A and B are again in pairs, are missing the information they need to complete a task, and they need to talk to the other person to find it out. For example, student A has information on a famous person with all the place names missing, while student B has the same text with all the dates missing. So the advantages of an information gap is it promotes a student-centered classroom, promotes peer-to-peer collaboration, increases student talking time, and are conducive to using authentic materials. So here's an example. Student A is given this sheet. Ali, Sarah, and Mike. Can Sarah ride a bicycle? The answer is no, she can't. Can Ali ride a bicycle? Student A doesn't know. But student B has this sheet. Can Ali ride a bicycle? Yes, he can. So this is why it's called information gap, because they have to ask each other questions and fill in the sheet. And again, this is all part of the pair work. They're in pairs, they're chatting to each other, and then by the end they have to fill in the sheets without looking at the other person's sheet. Okay, another example would be word order. Put them in pairs. You can easily make a worksheet like this. Put the words in the right order. Football play, Adam can Adam can play football. Then highlight the second one is a question. Can John speak Polish? So there's more activities they can do. And of course, the typical exercise, fill in the gaps. Again, this is practicing can and can't in pairs. Here we're doing some writing. Great, so now we're getting to stage 3, the production, the group work part. So basically the target language again is can and can't to talk about skills. The teacher's role in production, P3, just needs to monitor the students. The teacher can correct at the end. The focus here is on fluency. Here the students should speak 100% of the time. They're in groups now. They have the opportunity to speak more freely. They can use the language in an everyday natural context through a practical skill, and they're provided with an opportunity to personalize the language, that is, use their own ideas. So there's a great game called Find Someone Who, a mingling activity which gets students on their feet and forces them to interact with a large amount of people. Students are given a worksheet with a series of questions, and they have to walk around the room trying to find a person who fits the question. When a student finds someone who fits the question, they write that person's name and move on to a new person. The goal is to talk and meet to as many people as possible within the time limit in order to put one name opposite each of the questions on the worksheet. So here is a worksheet which is very easy to make. Find someone who can speak a foreign language, play a musical instrument, and so on. So they have to keep walking around the room asking people like, can you run very fast, or can you surf? And by the end of the activity, they should have 6 different names written on the sheet. Great, so that was the PPP method. Now the next section are warmers and fillers. So what is a warmer or filler? Something to get the students active and energized, something upbeat. It could be completely unrelated to the rest of the lesson, and it might be at the beginning, middle, or end of a class when energy is low. We should use a warmer or filler to engage students and give them energy, develop rapport, something to do while waiting for latecomers. Maybe you just want to break in between stages, but they should have a language aim. So there's a great one called What Should I Do? So as you see from the picture, you could stick a post-it on your forehead and write down a problem that you have. And you ask the students, look at my problem, what should I do? And students reply, you should. For example, I said, I can't find my keys. And students might say, you should look for them. You should check your pockets. Then the teacher gives a post-it to every student, and on the non-sticky side, each student writes a problem. The students stand up and stick their post-it on another student's forehead. Obviously, you're not allowed to look at what's written on your post-it, and they walk around the room and say, what should I do? Everyone gives them advice, you should, and the student who guesses their problem first is the winner. Another fun activity, a warmer or filler, is a chain story. So basically, all students could write one verb, for example, in the past simple on a piece of paper. Students swap their verbs with other students, and they make up a story, for example, about Ali's holiday, where everyone must make a sentence using the verb they have. The first student might say, Ali went on holiday, because he's holding the verb went. Second student, he traveled by plane. Students must listen to the previous sentence and add on something using the verb they were given. As a follow-on activity, students could write up their stories in groups, and this game can be modified using different tenses or vocabulary. Running dictation is great fun. You could choose a short passage and make several copies, a small reading comprehension. Stick copies up on the wall outside the classroom. Put the students into pairs or small groups. The aim is for one of the students in each pair to run outside the classroom, read the passage, and come back in again and tell his partner to write it down. They quickly dictate what they remember to their partner, who writes it down, and the winning team is the pair that finishes first. The teacher must check for mistakes. If there are mistakes, they must keep running. This is a high energy game, and as you know, competition increases motivation. Now, I just want to say something. Since March, I have had to teach all my ESOL and Leaving Cert classes online. I am using Zoom, a free app. Check out how to use Zoom for teaching online on my YouTube channel, Michelle Benson Leaving Cert English. But the good news is I can still put them into pairs and get them repeating and doing actions even through the camera. So what I want to say is take chances and don't be scared to try out new things. If you would like some resources about getting your students talking, there are books by Jill Hadfield, produced by Longman, Beginners, Elementary and Intermediate Communication Games, Jill Hadfield. And of course, if you go to YouTube, there are hundreds of more ideas. Search ESL Communication Games. Thank you for listening. Your mic is muted and you can type in questions in the chat now if you like, and Fergus will take them.
Oh, thanks very much, Michelle.
Thank you.
That was great. Loads of ideas there. And you mentioned the PPP idea and some of the games, the running outside games, which were high energy. And I totally agree that the high energy would increase motivation. That makes sense. So thanks a million for a great presentation. I'm going to stop the